You're going to fall if you're really learning how to snowboard.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not falling, then the learning curve is that much longer because you're not pushing yourself. That's an athlete's mindset, right?
Sometimes we always want to be like, can I do more? I want to do more. And once just deliver what you've been asked to deliver and do it well, get very clear, find those answers and deliver on those answers. That's step one.
I think that's great. That is excellence, right?
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Hi, this is Todd Burnham, and I'm here with Phil McCarthy, and we are here with Athletes at Law podcast, talking about the things that we learned on the field and how we relate to those things and use them off the field. Today, we're going to talk about excellence. All right. So, in the Way of Excellence, author Brad Stuhlberg kind of redefines excellence as involved engagement in something worthwhile that supports your values and goals, right? All right, so involved engagement. What's involved? Involved engagement, like you're intentional.
You're intentional, you're deliberate, and your presence lines up with the moment and the way you're going to compete.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Okay.
I like that. The way I like to say it is, I even say this to students that walk in my class. As you know, both Todd and myself are professors in college. I'm in law, Amy in business. When they walk in the classroom, I'm like, let's play this. Let's play this like a sport, right? Mm-hmm. This is true. Nobody gets on a team and tries to work themselves to the back of the lineup,
right?
Mm-hmm. So you're like, let's play this to the point where we move to the front of the lineup. Isn't that what brings excellence? So finding excellence, typically it makes me move that way, towards the front of the lineup, not towards the back of the lineup. Mm-hmm. So that's what we wanted to talk about today, right?
I love it. And excellence in general, I think is just, you can look at it in so many different ways. In sports, I'll give you an example I've been thinking of, is that you'll have two different teams, right? One team has players that are less experienced, maybe a couple of really good players, but the coaching is exceptional, and the environment is one of learning assets and specifics that are utilized all the time at the next level.
Yeah,
okay?
That's it.
Over here, you have a team that is filled with a lot of talent, right? No structure, not really much in terms of working together, next level play. Just a bunch of really good people and athletes that are just doing one-on-ones, up and down the field, one-on-ones, scoring, and they can win, right? Which one of these do you choose when you want to become excellent?
When you want to model your game for excellence?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think one thing is important to model your game off of someone that's done it before you. And you can break through that ceiling as well.
That's what coaching is.
But coaching guides you towards that.
Well,
and gives you some true feedback on where you stand too.
What's a really good piece of this too is when you're looking at something about coaching, like I've been through this so many times and have listened to so many people, you're looking at the person of what they've accomplished, but also how they've accomplished it.
Yeah,
right?
That's a fact.
It's not just, wow, that person made $1 billion. That person also looks like shit, and it looks like they're about to die because they're so sickly or whatever, right? So it's not just about the goal or the reward, right? It's this part of it, this process that we can get to, that the behavior is such that we are enjoying that piece of it. I think it's just really important to know that.
I do. I think that what we're talking about is, how do you find the top of your game? Now, and then also you get to define what the top of your game looks like and how it impacts a team. Yeah. On every team, there's a great tension that needs to be resolved, and it gets resolved individually by everybody and as a team culturally, which is this. I want to be the best. I want to play all the time, and I want us to win. Right? So we have to solve that tension, because in each of those scenarios, we're somewhere on the spectrum of being good enough to deliver that or not good enough to deliver that. It shouldn't be my role to do that at this point. Someone else is better at that. How do I get better at that? And the way we resolve that tension, I'll give you the zoom out idea on this, is the better you get, the more you have to offer. Right? It's a pretty simple concept. But if you view it like, I'm not being selfish trying to get better, I'm trying to get good enough to offer something more, and then you check in with the team and what's needed, and you responsibly deliver what's needed, and getting access to what's needed, that's great.
Yeah, that sounds very balanced.
Right?
Very different than someone that is like going to go 1 through 5 people to score for glory.
Yes, or it should be your shot because you're shooting at 70%. I'm shooting at 30, and my thinking is I just need more shots.
Yeah.
What I have to be aware of inside this tension is that's not my shot to take.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
However, people that do this really well, sometimes I call them an accelerator. They end up stars in their own way, in their own light, finding the top of their game. I'll give you an example of that. Wayne Gretzky, Yari Curry.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about
He
that.
accelerated Gretzky's game to a degree that both of them ended up in the Hall of Fame.
Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan.
Yep. Both of them got where they wanted to go. They found the top of the game and they delivered for their team, and the team ends up winning more than losing.
Yep.
Right? So I think that finding the top of your game is saying, hey, first and foremost, deliver what you're asked to deliver. Sometimes we always want to be like, can I do more? I want to do more. And once just deliver what you've been asked to deliver and do it well. That's the start. So if we at work, if we're trying to figure out how do I do this? Deliver what's asked.
Ask someone that's done it before.
Yes.
How do you deliver what's been asked?
Right? And in your role, if you're unclear on the priorities that will deliver the quarter or the half or the year, get very clear, find those answers and deliver on those answers. That's step one.
I think that's great. That is excellence, right?
Yep.
It's doing things intentionally in a way that's,
And then your greatness has to line up with the plan the team has.
Right.
Right? And so you've got to check in and make sure that you're aligned with the team dynamics and the direction the team wants to go to.
We need assists. Man,
Right.
I'm going to shoot.
Or you've seen the hero ball, or you've seen where we all try to solve it at the same time. We got out of whack. Our coach used to yell at us, run something we recognize, when we would try to take over the game and blow up the offense and blow up the plan and got to get unaligned. And that was a cue to get ourselves back in alignment, or he was going to help us with that.
That's good. Is that Uric?
That was
Yeah. Okay.
So, again, at work, how does finding your best? We've gone through that, but what are some things you've done to figure out maybe you're going from performance to leader performer, right?
I think a lot of the things for me about the seeking and the intention of trying to be excellent in life, right?
Yeah.
Is the ability to give yourself a break. I've given myself a lot of, some grace to understand that on this path, it's a lot of failure or perceived failure initially. It's like you're not really failing because you're just getting better, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about working on our edges.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to fall if you're really learning how to snowboard.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not falling, then the learning curve is that much longer because you're not pushing yourself. That's an athlete's mindset, right? It's the same thing here. It's the same thing in how we operate, how we, our coworkers, all of these pieces are talking about like, what edges are we on?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to introduce this concept, the learning curve. So there is a learning curve to excellence, and every role and every industry has its own way of getting to the top of the game, and there's things you just have to learn.
Yep.
Sometimes there's languages, sometimes there's formulas, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you need to learn what an option is if you trade options over what a stock is if you trade stock, right? So there's a learning curve. For you got to get a law degree, there's a learning curve. And then figuring out what best practice looks like, there's a learning curve. So one thing I'd argue is really identify what that looks like for one, and choose areas to play in that isn't friction to look at that learning curve like, oh, I can do all those things, though I don't mind that. Talk to me about more friction, less friction, or the learning curve. How have you experienced that?
Well, I guess I would look at it in two different ways, right? So first, the learning curve of bankruptcy, right, is like the learning curve of soccer for me.
Yeah.
I would play it if I had to.
Yeah.
I'm not really focused on it. I'm trying to be not excellent at it, just proficient enough. And I think that if the learning curve with that, I didn't keep doing it because I wasn't passionate about it, because I wasn't going to become. I knew it. I just didn't have it in me to become the best bankruptcy attorney, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be the best whatever. So patent attorney, things that are transactional, I'm not really into it. I'm into the litigation, into getting into the emotions and the kids, things like that. That's what it does. likewise, after a while of being on the phones, you just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You just can't, like, you burn out. You're trying to, at one point, even an example is I would try to talk to people instead of trying to sell them on the phone. I just found that I was sustained more by talking to them like Tony Robbins, like inspirational, you can do this kind of things. And it gave me more sustainability.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was doing something with a purpose of trying to help rather than trying to sell. And so the learning curve of selling for me was more about survival to say, this is how I do it. Make sense?
It does make sense. For me, impact is that ingredient that has to be involved. I have to be impacting and know the impact of the people around me for me to want to play.
I couldn't do finance.
Yep.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Chasing money. I think it's great for people.
Not your reward system. And
yeah, it's just that's how I'm built, you know? And I think that's great for the people that do. I'm sure they're finding other things too.
But that's what excellence is, like finding the areas that are interesting the most, that lend itself to some of the advantages you've created, liking the learning path to be awesome. I see what I have to do to be really great. That doesn't bother me. I'd do those things.
Yeah.
Choosing to do those things.
Yeah.
And then delivering your role and seeing what comes next.
And if you have a place, an environment that lays out for you, here's how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's just getting in tune with the reps.
Right? And then you're like, okay, so if I do this really well, then what's next? Am I an associate? Can I be a senior associate? What's that look like?
Yep.
Right? Or, choose your industry. But what's the next thing for me? This. Okay, so what are the things that are bridging the skill gap, and how do I close down those gaps?
Yep.
And then boom, all of a sudden you're doing something different. That's you moving from the third line to the second line, right?
Yeah.
And when you do those things, you're getting better. And the better you got, the more you have to deliver. Similar concept on that.
100%. I love it.
Right? So getting a rep on this is this one seems to me a little bit easier. Maybe you have to define what excellence is and work at it, and then work backwards from it as well to say, where am I today and what needs to change?
Looking at
what can I add to?
Looking at the process itself and focusing on the issue and not the emotions.
Yep.
That's a form of excellence, being self-aware to know where you're triggered or where things bother you in a process, and being able to say, okay, I'm going to calm down at this moment. Like, emotions take up so much of our time when we're involved in emotional things. Right? Yeah. And building a business and running a law firm and any service business and people and employees and families, you can't help but be empathetic and emotional about people and about like the process itself. If you love doing that, then I think that's a purpose-driven life, man.
Right. I mean, that helps. So again, what gets better when this gets better? We all love to do things we're good at, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's one of our favorite things, right? When you're really good at something, energy flows towards it naturally. You know that you are making a difference, and whether that's in a person's life, any stakeholder's life, you're making a difference.
Yeah.
So the biggest reward for being excellent at something is the momentum you get to play with, and the difference that you're making.
Impact.
And the impact you're having, right? So that you get to decide what that looks like, but fighting for that excellence and laying out that plan and working forwards and backwards from it. The rewards for that are endless.
Just act in a way that's intentional, and that you have a passion for getting better at. If you can do those things, and especially on the days that are hard, on the days that you're getting your teeth kicked in, remembering that on those days is where the growth is.
Yeah.
And if you can use that stuff and that growth in such a way to benefit you, then you're going to look at that adversity differently. And then you keep growing, and you're stacking lessons through the adversity. So you want the lessons, and you want to embrace the chase of excellence, which requires failure.
And the allowance of that, and the recovery of that.
And the grace to say, it's okay, you're good, man. You
and the grace to say for others when they fail, to create an environment where there's a path back too.
100%.
Right, and making that easy for them. So eliminating some of those friction points make finding excellence a lot easier.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, man. Next week?
Yep, next week.
Keep it a surprise. See you then.